Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of New to Weeaboo. This is number 86 for November 30th, 2022. I am Nemesis, and I am joined by Alcatraz here.
Hello.
Yes. Not a whole lot anime-wise. Good Smile did have some one hobby announcements. Quite a few interesting ones, including a Bochi Nendo, Figmas for Lycoris Recoil, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Elden Ring stuff too.
Yep.
A bunch of stuff in there.
A bunch of
Also lots of Hololive.
Yeah, a bunch of Hololive stuff.
And Chainsaw Man.
Yep, because that's a thing.
And speaking of, I've been keeping up with Chainsaw Man and Bochi.
Likewise on Chainsaw Man, I've been meaning to on Bochi.
I started watching Akiba Maid War, and yes, it is absolutely worth watching. Do not sleep on that one for sure. It is wonderfully stupid.
Wonderfully stupid.
And I mean that in the best possible way. So there's that. I've been coming up with Pop Team Epic Season 2 and Pie Families Part 2 and all that stuff as well. I also want to try to get caught up on Do It Yourself. That new one as well. And Gundam. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. This season was pretty packed full of good stuff.
And so I want to try to get caught up with all that. But of course, there's only so much time. So that's a little difficult sometimes. But anyway. Not really much else to say, really. So we'll go ahead and probably go ahead and jump right into today's topic, which is, Lycoris Recoil.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. We watched it, the first few episodes for the summer sampler several episodes ago. And we decided to go back and watch the whole thing because it's actually really good.
It is.
Yeah, so that's our thing. It's really good. Watch it if you haven't already. It was like the summer 2022 anime. Granted, its competition was kind of lacking.
All this competition waited a season.
Yeah, it's like it's not to downplay how great it is. It's not like it's just the best one just because of everything else, but it is genuinely just amazing. And of course, I'm just kind of glad it got a chance to shine without the competition of fall or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my big thing. Like for example, Alchemy made one where it's going to get just lost in the shuffle because there's so much to watch.
There's just so much. Yeah.
So there's like something like that. But yeah, Lycoris Recoil, as we talked about way back when, is about, two girls who work for Lycoris, who work for DA and are basically essentially secret police for an authoritarian government, which we'll get to a little bit into that sort of stuff a little bit more down the line. But yeah, it's Chisao Nishikiki, I always mess it up. Chisao Nishikiki and Taka Inoue. Yeah.
Inoue. Yeah.
Yeah. And those two, and plus a bunch of their friends and cohorts and whatnot, and their, various adventures of, doing their job and also uncovering a bunch of the stuff that's involving things like Majima and the Allen Institute and all sorts of other things going on there. That's the gist of it, essentially.
Yep.
It's a kind of also a revival, which is kind of been kind of dead in anime, the Girls with Guns genre.
Girls with Guns.
Yes,
it's not been that dead, but yeah.
It's been kind of dead for a while. In anime, it's been kind of dead. Not a whole lot in the recent years. This is kind of a back.
Girls Frontline.
No. It's not really Girls with Guns.
It's not Girls with Guns. That's girls who are guns.
That's not even, it's kind of Girls with Guns is a very specific thing. It's like your stuff that talk about Black Lagoon, Bubblegum Crisis, Dirty Pair, even Ghost in the Shell is kind of Girls with Guns a little bit.
Kinda. I think it leans into other parts more, but yeah.
It's one of those things that's often cited as a Girls with Guns thing, but it's also live action stuff like, for example, the Tomb Raider movie is considered a Girls with Guns movie.
Yep.
But yeah, in anime, it's been kind of dormant. It kind of fell off favor, I guess, for like in around like early 90s.
Everyone goes through phases, even anime.
But this is kind of bringing it back, and it brought it back with a lot of style. It was done by A1 Pictures.
Nice.
Yes. Of course, done a lot of things.
Yeah, A1 is quite renowned.
Yes, they've done a lot of things. I'm trying to find. Let's see one thing. Let's find one good thing to kind of bring up. That's
one I know off the top of my head.
Kaguya-sama, I Love Is War.
There
we go. That's a big one that
Kaguya-sama,
people know
Love
about.
Is War.
That's not crap.
It's not good. They also did the animation for Porter Robinson's Shelter, and I remember that caused a lot of consternation because a lot of people considered it, it's anime because it's A1, but a lot of people got ticked but it's for a Western music video, but it's A1.
Yeah. Yeah. Is G.I. Joe an anime because it was animated by Toei?
Yep. It was one of those things.
But yeah, it's okay. So the thing about this anime is, one, okay, really like it a lot. I really like the characters. It's the nice thing about the characters, they're really well fleshed out. Takuna's journey in particular, Takuna and Chisato's journeys as in their growth throughout the whole thing are really well done. Takuna is very, as we mentioned some of the stuff in the previous thing, but it's going to come up again because, yeah.
Of course.
Takuna is very, very reserved as a person. She's kind of doesn't show a whole lot of emotion for the most part, at least at the beginning. She's very reserved by the book, and her one and only time where she kind of went, well, off the book, I guess, so to speak, is, why she's here at the Lycoris Cafe.
Yep.
Because, well, if you remember at the beginning, she was on op, basically stopping an arms deal, and there was a communication went down, so she made the executive decision to go ahead and grab a big old machine gun and just start opening fire to save another Lycoris. And that got her in trouble. She became the scapegoat because it turns out the whole thing was like they're trying to cover up the fact that there was a botch, because on top of that they found that they were already way too late. The arms deal already happened, essentially.
Yep.
So their intel was bad. They're trying to go up, so who's at fault? It's Takuna. All Takuna's fault.
She did something against the book, so we'll pin everything on her and kick her out.
And so
Scapegoat.
took her out of DA and made her go to Lycoris, and she met Chisato, who is essentially the best, on a technical level, the best agent they have. She's not so great at the whole following orders thing, though. But.
Yep. But she does her own thing.
But yeah, on sheer skill level, she's like the best they have.
Yeah. It's like one of those, we can't get rid of you because you're really, really good, but we don't want you around either because you won't listen to us.
Yeah. So because of meeting Chisato, Takuna starts to loosen up. Chisato is the one who introduces the idea of we don't have to kill. Which Takuna initially is, what?
What? We don't? What do you mean?
No, that's ridiculous. No, I'm going to shoot to kill. And then Chisato's very insistent that we don't do that. So yeah, and they get closer together. By the episode 3, as we saw, Takuna and Chisato have become very close, and to the point where Takuna is more willing to be at Lycoris rather than DA and whatnot, including also want to shove it in those other Lycoris's face just to beat them. Yeah, so yeah, Takuna just kind of learning all that stuff and opening up and actually smiling more, and well, kind of actually learning, weirdly enough, kind of what it's like to be a normal teenage girl.
Yep.
Rather than just a by the book agent of the whole Lycoris thing.
Yeah, it's a journey of self-discovery for her, because she finally gets to find out who she actually is and not who the DA has made her.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very interesting thing. As a horse, because the whole DA thing, it's like they kind of touch. There's a lot of stuff they touch on in the anime, but don't really do much with. Namely, stuff like the Lycoris are functionally child soldiers.
You're right.
And
that was
turned into secret
thing.
Police, because they're trained at a very, very young age, and they're teenagers, and they are armed and take down crimes in secret to preserve this idea that Japan is largely crime free.
Yeah, almost I think I mentioned this in the last one. I caught like hints of like Minority Report-esque things with the level that they go.
Mm-hmm.
Catching it before it happens,
as it happens, and then they'll cover it up with like oh hey, it was an explosion in a train station. No,
it was a derailing. That's what happened.
Derailing. It wasn't a terrorist attack where a bunch of dudes shot at a train.
Yep,
and blew it up. No, it was just derailing. So stuff like that. And Chisato, her thing is, well, kind of her journey. Chisato's growth doesn't start really till I would say partway through. About 5 or 6 episodes in is when because we have to get that reveal of Chisato has an artificial heart.
Yep.
Which was not in the first 3 episodes.
Nope.
Because it turns out, she, again, technically skilled, but I can't remember the exact nature of the heart problem, but heart problems. Like she was doing training, then she just kind of collapsed.
Yep.
Because her heart's starting to go no.
Isn't that like the classic anime thing though? Yeah. Heart problems. She
Problems.
has a weak heart.
Well, I can't remember
But it pops up so often as I was in the hospital through middle school because I was sickly. I had a weak heart, and I finally got better, or I got my heart transplanted.
Yeah, it's basically that serious enough but also treatable thing. Anyway, she has a artificial heart, which is because from the Allen Institute, which has popped up early on, which seems like an altruistic thing, which does helps out people who would need and helps them achieve their dreams or goals or whatever. But turns out they're not entirely altruistic. Their whole goal is to get people to live up to their full potential through helping them. Sometimes even that potential is kind of
dark.
Yeah, not so great. We find out Chisato was supposed to be killing. She's like her whole talent is, apparently, according to them, is killing people, and she's not doing that. And large chunk of her journey is they're trying to, the Allen Institute through Shinji Yoshimatsu is trying to force her to kill.
Yep.
That's a big chunk of it. A large chunk of her journey is simply, we see, some of this can be inferred as well. She's kind of made peace with the idea she's not going to live to adulthood. That's the whole thing about the heart is it's not designed to.
It was a prototype.
Far, yeah. It is not. It has to be recharged, and it's eventually it's going to wear out, and she kind of made peace with the idea she is going to die very young, and part of her journey is this idea. I think almost feels like she's kind of learning this idea that's not just because she's okay with it doesn't mean everyone else is necessarily okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly Takana, once Takana finds out, because she doesn't tell Takana. That's the other thing. She kind of wants to keep this whole kind of on the down low. She doesn't want Takana finds out, and Takana doesn't take it well.
Right. See, I've already made peace with this. I don't want you to suffer or try and do things for me to try and keep it to go longer, even though I've already made peace with it. Mm-hmm. You need to live your life too, but,
Yeah, so her growth is kind of in the different thing of going from... just kind of realizing how important she is to other people somewhat.
There's also a little bit of one of her main, I guess, dreams and focuses was learning more about, how she got the heart, because she didn't know who gave it to her.
Not necessarily. No.
And she knew it was Allen Institute, but she was looking for a specific person.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't realize that it was who she called Mr. Yoshi.
Yeah.
It was specifically him who did it.
Yeah.
And her realizing who it was and realizing that it wasn't exactly for the bright purposes that she had in mind.
She was like, it's just giving me a second chance so I can save people. And they're like, you're supposed to be killing people.
Yeah. It was sort of her seeing that her dreams weren't what she thought they were. Her expectations got kind of crushed.
Mm-hmm. And her having to...
and dealing with that.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And finding a new thing out of that.
Yeah, kind of finding out her purpose was not... Yeah, what was not what she thought it was. And kind of having to, make peace with the idea that she was given a second lease on life by people who aren't really good people.
Yeah.
And that also ties in with one of the main antagonists, Majima, who becomes a big deal throughout because... he was also an Allen Institute kid, apparently. They don't get into the hows or whys or whatever, but apparently the Allen Institute is helping him by arming him, giving him tons of weapons, which he then distributes to Japan because he had a whole idea of... he claims that he wants to bring balance to the society, essentially. He finds about the whole Lycoris organization, and he feels that they have too much power. So he wants to bring balance and, bring, I guess, kind of weaken Lycoris by arming random people and telling them to, use it. Use the gun. Use it.
Yep.
I don't think he's being entirely truthful about that. I hate that he's really got this gut feeling that he claims because at one point he claims that if Lycoris was the weak party, they would be helping Lycoris, but I don't think that's true. I think what he did really is he just wants to cause chaos because he's kind of bored.
Yeah, some people just want to watch the world burn.
I feel like that's his real purpose, so he latched on something that sounds good.
Yeah, and then the question is he faking that, or does he actually believe that, even though it's not true? Because you get that weird... sometimes they latch onto that to justify a deeper purpose, but they don't see that deeper reason inside themselves. They literally see their own excuses as the truth.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's Majima Chisato have a weird relationship throughout the series because while he's antagonistic, they're sometimes even outright friendly to each other. Like, he breaks into her apartment, but they just kind of sit there and talk.
Yep.
And they even kind of talk about movies. Like, they apparently have the same taste in movies and whatnot. Like, and then in the final battle, they fight each other. But, you know, when Chisato kind of, her heart starts to do weird stuff because, again, it's starting to fail at this point. We'll, again, get back to that.
Yeah.
Majima, you know, takes a break and offers her a drink and everything, just sit and talk for a little bit before they go back to fighting.
Yep.
It's an unusual relationship.
It's really neatly done, though.
Yeah. It's just because, like, again, he doesn't see himself. He's not looking at this in terms of black and white, good and evil or whatever. He's kind of, he keeps prodding at Chisato, like, why she's fighting and everything and or whatever. And like, because the only reason he's even fighting at this point, because at one point he was just bored. He's like, because he finds Chisato herself interesting, because apparently she stopped him once before because the whole radio tower thing was him.
Yep.
Because the exploded radio tower, and yeah, it was him, and she stopped him, and yeah, he finds her just interesting. So that's pretty much the reason he like kind of takes it easy on her, is just because she's interesting.
Yep.
And wasn't for that, he'd be like, just shoot her and that'd be that.
Yep. It ties into the whole reasons he's doing it because he's bored kind of a thing, not just because it's balance.
Yeah, that's why I feel like he is, I don't know if he's lying to himself or he's just saying that because he's trying to get, you know, kind of Chisato on his side or something or what.
Yeah.
Regardless,
he's bored, but he needs to find a reason for being for causing chaos.
That's my purpose.
So that's his decided direction, is that he wants to cause chaos, unless he's, you know, I want there to be some chaos in order to maintain some semblance of balance. And I don't know, it's the antagonists tend to come up with weird, convoluted reasons, even in real life, just to justify their actions. But he is definitely an interesting character.
Yeah. Beyond that, some of the other characters, Kurumi, who Walnut, you know, they saved her in the first few episodes. The hacker, she kind of started this whole thing in the first place because she was the one who hacked into DA.
Yep. And caused the comms error.
Caused everything. Yeah, caused the whole thing to start, essentially. And she kind of feels she was just doing her job. You know, she was paid to do a job and she did it. And now she kind of feels guilty because she finds out that one action caused this whole thing to cascade.
Yep. She's
Stupid butterfly.
Half at fault for the distribution of those weapons.
Yep. Although she's trying to make up for it, so that's interesting. Yeah, she's also, again, a little kid. At least appears to be a little kid. Again, we're not... I would suspect she's a little kid because, they don't exactly elaborate on it because this whole Walnut's been around for years thing. And, like, yeah, she also fakes her own death as Walnut, so now the guy who wanted to kill her, Robota, now think he's the best hacker in the world. And, yeah, he wears this, you know, his silly robot head thing, and he winds up in league with Majima, although not entirely by his choice.
Yes.
This is just a job, and then Majima found him and like, oh no.
Just remember, when it comes to, you think you're good with computers and security, just remember, don't make your password any stronger than your kneecaps. Because they don't care. They'll just break your knees.
Yep. And then, of course, there's Mika, Sensei. You know, he's the kind of almost, in a sense, Chisato's dad. Because that's the thing about Lycoris, is they're usually like orphans and whatnot. They don't have family. So Mika kind of became Chisato's dad. And for him, initially, it was just a job. But then, oh no, I actually genuinely love her now. As a daughter. Oh no. And on top of that, he was actually in a relationship with the guy who gave her heart.
Yep.
Shinji there. Which is interesting. That was just kind of dropped in a weird, interesting way. Like, oh, wow. We were kind of expecting, you know, kind of a girls, you know, kissing girls thing, and no.
Yep. It was interesting how they kind of, when they introduced that, there was the, is there going to be, because Takana accidentally read, or was it
Chisato read the phone.
Accidentally read the phone message that someone that wanted to meet up someplace.
Yeah.
And they thought it was, what's her face from the DA.
Yeah.
And then Takana's like, what, is it a date? And they're like, nah, it wouldn't be a date with those two.
Yeah.
And then they see that it's, you know, it's Yoshi, and like, oh, it is a date. And Takana was confused at first.
And Takana was just kind of, just it didn't quite understand what's going on. And then, she caught on to it, and,
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, Mika also, so Mika also has a limp, although it turns out it's not really.
Not a real limp.
Yeah, he's been faking it this entire time. Because, we see him fight. He's like, oh, yeah, so he and Shinji have a very complicated past now because, finding out what Shinji and him, he knew a lot about what was going on there, but it was kind of in secret, and things are complicated.
Yeah, so, Yoshimata, what was his full name? Yoshimatsu wanted Mika to keep training her and get her to start killing in exchange for that heart, and Mika didn't.
Yep.
And Shinji kept pushing him and finally started to take things into his own hands.
Yeah, which led to also really fun,
big quotes on that one.
Their relationship, we see that, like, even towards the end, Mika is like, okay, when Shinji is full blown, trying to basically, because at the end he does the thing of he puts a second artificial heart into himself after he has his little lackey go and sabotage Chisato's heart to basically shorten her lifespan to about 2 months or so at best. Best case scenario is 2 months, and that's if she doesn't overexert herself or anything. Which she's going to do a lot being a Lycoris because she can't help herself. So then they find out there's a second heart, which would be great, except that he then put it himself for no reason other than to force Chisato to kill him to get the heart.
Yep.
Trying to force her into this situation, and she refuses because she absolutely refuses. And Takana is very much willing to do that.
Very much willing.
We saw Takana is just like, finds out, the heart's in him. Okay.
Pulls a gun and took Chisato, stopping her.
Yeah. And that was one heck of a scene. Just Takana just keeps firing, and then of course keeps pulling the trigger well after the gun's empty.
Yeah.
And just trying to stop him, and Chisato's trying to get her to stop. And
yep. Well, I mean, there was a scene before that. Well, it was just before that, I think, where he actually did get Chisato to shoot him,
although in a non-fatal way.
But she did it in a non-fatal way because he was shooting at Takana.
Yep, he's trying to force her. Now she's trying to do everything he can to force Chisato to kill someone.
Yep.
Eventually, he starts seeming like he's getting away, but then there's Mika, and he stops the lackey, and then they kind of have a conversation, and was about how she got her hooks in you, huh? And it's like, yeah. Something like that. And then you can see Mika clearly still cares about him even after everything.
Yep.
But he still, he does what he needs to do to save Chisato.
Yep. He gets the heart.
So that's a thing.
Yep.
That was a very, very intense little moment.
Oof. Yeah.
And I'll get back to it in a little bit though. But then there's Mizuki, who, again, older woman. We don't know how old, but considering it's anime, she's probably in her 30s.
Yeah.
Can't seem to get lucky with guys ever. Despite her best efforts, very bitter about this. Constantly gets upset about that sort of thing. Gets upset when her age is brought up. So on and so forth.
Apparently she's 27.
Okay.
So close to 30.
All right, yep. Oh no, what an old hag, 27 years old.
God.
She and Kurumi kind of established one heck of a relationship too. It's a very interesting, very sibling fighting each other constantly type of thing, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's great. Kurumi, both of them are great in different ways, but yeah.
But yeah, those two in particular, just whenever they're basically forced to be with each other, which is a lot. Funny things happen. Ma'am, your child isn't. Never seen her before.
Never seen it. Your child who was separated at birth is just outside. God.
Don't know her. Just don't know her. I don't know her. You got Fuki, who's another Lycoris. We saw her in episode 3 and whatnot, and or actually early in this episodes, and she has a weird resentment towards Takana and Chisato, and there's also Sakura, who just doesn't have a filter.
And who just really wants a parfait.
Yeah, really wants to pay, has no filter and whatever. They're here and there, but for the most part, they're kind of push the.
They're basically the B team you see every now and then.
You see them along. We see that Fuki just has a resents Takana, rivals Chisato, so on and so forth. There's also Kusunoki is the DA commander.
Yep, she's head of that.
She will do
of the Lycoris
anything
team.
to keep the agency secret, even throwing the Lycoris under the bus for it.
Yeah, because that was how that ended in the radio tower.
Mm-hmm.
Majima's whole final thing.
Well, that wasn't her call, though, at the beginning there. That was someone else. I don't remember who it was. There's some guy showed up. Apparently he's
right, so there's a
above
secondary
her.
team.
Yeah, the guys, Lilybell.
Lilybell, yeah.
Which are less secret police and more black ops.
Yeah, and they only get mentioned and show up in like the last couple of episodes. That's it.
They're mentioned earlier, like midway through. They're briefly mentioned as like the boys' equivalent, and then they don't turn. It's just that's basically, hey, look, we mentioned something, and then later on, here they are, and they're ordered to take out the Lycoris because at this point, they are absolutely willing to just wipe out all the Lycoris out in the field to just preserve the secrecy of everything.
Yep, because Majima kind of revealed them.
Mm-hmm. Majima's whole thing was he revealed the Lycoris to the world, and like, oh,
yep.
So how do you get out of this one? Oh, he kind of pretends it's a weird fake broadcast thing.
It's totally fake. It was just it's a really, really in-depth advertisement for a new TV show.
Yep. That's what they had to
do. And those actual people in the streets with guns are just actors.
Yep. It worked.
It worked.
Although I'm wondering how much of that worked just because people just really didn't want it to be real.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's Majima's thing, was he was trying to do that, and he was doing that at the new radio tower and everything. And Majima interesting too, because the thing about Majima and Chisato, they have more in common because both of them seem to have almost superhuman abilities, which is Chisato, it seems to be, apparently it's actually eyesight, which is because of her eye. She said she's good eyesight. She can actually see the muscles twitching when someone's going to fire a gun, and thus she knows where they're going to aim, and thus she can dodge the bullet, even at point blank. Which, again, as I talked about last time, was like almost borders on precognition of sorts, or at least looks like it if you're from an outside observer. But yeah, it's just somehow she can just read muscles, which was like so funny scene later was, she challenges Takana to, rock, paper, scissors to see who has to do chores, and Takana loses everything because she can see every single muscle twitch that Takana's going to pull. Until Takana throws her off her game and wins one.
Yep.
That's one of those things where you see Takana's growth, where she acts like a girl, and she's very excited and
dances and giggles, and it's glorious.
Yes, it's great. It's like, oh, Takana.
Yep.
You're my favorite character for a reason.
Yeah, I like Chisato, but yeah, Takana's great. But yeah, Majima's thing is
hearing.
Like,
yeah, he can just he blacks out the whole like thing, and it's completely dark, and he's at an advantage because Chisato can't see crap, but he can hear her. And then, of course, she figures out, just shoot the gun next to his ear.
Yeah, it's not great having a gun go off right next to your ears.
Especially, I'm guessing, if your hearing's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy, that's a disadvantage. But, yeah, that works. That's the other thing. And, Majima's plan eventually fails, and she's thrown from the tower and almost takes Chisato with him. And Takana saves her, though, because, Takana's very hell-bent on keeping Chisato alive at this point. Even if Chisato herself is kind of okay with dying.
Yep.
Yeah, you may have given up on yourself, but I haven't.
Yep.
And somehow, despite falling, many, many, many stories, Majima lives. We all bandaged up, but he lives. And he's, once again, there's still some of the guns are out there. And he's encouraging someone to, use the gun. Just use it.
Yep. He ain't dead, and he's still going, which means that's a hook for a sequel.
Yeah. And considering, that's the other thing. Considering, one, did very well when it was airing. Two, the Blu-ray, the first volume, has sold incredibly well. It's probably getting a sequel.
I hope so.
Apparently there's some event going on in the spring, which we'll hear some news about Lycoris Recoil. That would not surprise me if the announcement of season 2. But yeah, this other thing is this is not an adaptation. This is an original story for anime.
There's no manga.
Well, there is a manga. They started making one.
Oh, yes, but the manga came after.
Yes, the manga started in September and is still going as of right now. I think it's a side story or something. I can't remember sure exactly what it is. We'll check that. Just an adaptation. I'm not sure if it's just an adaptation or if it's a more. There's also a light novel. It's a spin-off, which has not been officially translated to English yet. But I've heard a lot of things about that one, too. But the other thing is, this anime, there's themes that are brought up in it, which that's the thing. I think this is one of the bigger criticisms, particularly in the last episode. The last episode brings up some stuff which they kind of basically they present it, but don't do anything with it. Namely, the nature of the Lycoris organization itself.
Mm-hmm.
The fact there essentially are Chisato and Takana are essentially agents of a secret organization, a secret police that is working on behalf of an incredibly authoritarian government is kind of brought up and they don't really do much with it.
Yeah.
Again, in particular, part of Majima's whole thing is he's trying to do that, and they can just kind of like, yeah, that's a thing, and then they just move on with it. And it's like, oh, we're not gonna...
they bring up this ain't great, guys. It's no, it's not.
But whatever.
Shut up.
Anyway, cool, look at this. Cool, bang, 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 woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
So that's a little worrying. I'd hope that maybe season 2 kind of gets into a little bit of it, because again, we already see Chisato is very much willing to defy, and even now Takana is very much willing to defy the organization itself. And I'm not even sure if they're even Lycoris still at the end of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's not really made clear, because at that point they're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
For at least for a little while, because the whole thing is like, yeah, Chisato ran off after that whole thing. She gets her heart replaced with the new one, her new first artificial heart replaced with the new artificial heart, and then she runs off because she doesn't know it's been replaced, and she's assumed I'm going to die. Well, I'm just going to go away so I don't have to say goodbye to everyone. That's hard. Not really thinking about, which I've seen a lot of fan works deal with that. The whole, hey, cool, you just ran off and just make us all freak out just because you just didn't want to say goodbye, you selfish jerk. But anyway, Takana finds her, and yeah, it's a whole thing of himself and them. It's one of those things like, I don't know. They haven't really made it clear whether or not they're still Lycoris or not as of the very end, right?
Right.
So that'd be kind of an interesting idea, and I'd hope it'd be like kind of the direction it goes in, which is the idea that they kind of go, hey, you know what? Maybe this whole Lycoris thing ain't so great after all.
It ain't so great. You shouldn't have secret assassin kids. Especially secret assassin kids that target your own citizens.
Yeah, exactly.
They're supposedly criminals. We don't know how many aren't.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, if you're going to look for silver linings, at least, they wait for the crime to actually happen and stop it when it happens, instead of, the full Minority Report of stop it before they've actually done something wrong.
Yeah.
But still, it's not great.
Yeah, that whole thing. That's kind of glossed over. The DA itself and this Chisato and Takana just kind of working for, and it's brought up, but not really gone. They don't really go in depth on it. It's one of those. I've seen this in multiple anime bring up, kind of more serious political topics, which they kind of bring it up, but don't ever do anything with it.
Right.
So that's one big disappointment. That's part of why I think that final episode is a little, it kind of stumbles a bit.
Yeah, I think they were trying to just end on a happy note.
Yeah. The other thing is just about that final episode, just a couple things, like it felt a little too, it's hard to explain, but there's some contrivances I'm kind of like, I'm not sure about the final episode, but
yeah.
I think my biggest thing is just simply that, just
kind of like they had to wrap it up real quick.
A little bit.
They planned for more than they realized they had time for.
I don't know, maybe something along those lines. It's just the Lily Bell thing was very last second.
Yeah.
And,
oh right, we have these guys. Throw them in there.
And then they're
gone.
There isn't even really a fight. They're just kind of show up for a little bit, and then they're just stand down. Okay.
Just hold out until someone made the fake TV show commercial and slapped it in there.
Kurumi somehow did it.
I'm assuming it's Kurumi.
That's the thing. Robota gets himself caught too, because Kurumi's like, hey, I guess I'm not dead, Robota.
Yeah. Well, fortunately for Walnut, that's a Walnut. The moniker Walnut is I'm assuming that's a Dread Pirate Roberts, because the way they talk about it in the first few episodes,
they don't really get super into it. So it's like, that's a possible more.
Because I remember they were talking about Walnut's been around for a really long time, and we have this really young girl. So it's either you're 10. A lot older than you look, or it's Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yep. I mean, either one of those angles could be kind of interesting down the line. But one other thing they brought up was what Mika did. Because Chisato refused to kill Shinji for the heart. She was rather die than take another life, right? Although we also find out that's not really necessarily altruistic. She just kind of, it's weird. I'd feel bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, So Mika is able to kill Shinji and gets the heart, but then they also cover up the fact that Mika killed Shinji. They kind of created a little bit of a lie. Mika created a bit of a lie about it. They said, oh no, he didn't really have the heart in him. He was lying.
Yeah, because he was carrying around the suitcase the whole time. It was in there.
So I'm wondering that's what could be one heck of a
if she
serious
finds
times.
out.
Like if she finds out that Mika killed Shinji to keep her alive, and how would she feel about the fact she's only alive still because he died?
Yeah, and that would be, isn't that the second time that she's learned that Mika has some secrets about her? Because that was part of one of the earlier episodes was, when Mika told her the history of her first heart and
a little bit, yeah,
and she accepted and forgave him for those, but it's like you're willing to do it a second time,
and
because
on top
this
of
one's
that,
even bigger.
Again, the whole someone died so I could live thing.
Yep.
She very clearly was not very much against.
Yep.
So that would be a very interesting how that would play out if she discovered it, because there was already signs she's already kind of finding little weird inconsistencies. Yeah, but that's one final thing is like her kind of getting out of the whole I need to I have a debt to the Allen Institute and I have to live up to that, and like nah.
Finding out the debt that they want you to repay is not one you're willing to pay.
Yeah, so that whole nah, and just kind of chuck this necklace out in the ocean.
Yep.
So there's the other thing, which is a lot of people have read into this series, the idea that Takana and Chisato's relationship may be more than platonic. Maybe not. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah,
I'll ship it.
There's a lot there, which would suggest that there's more than platonic going on. Again, particularly with Takana at the end there, and her just how far she's willing to go for Chisato. It's even going as far as willing to knowing full well what Chisato wants and saying, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I want because I want her to live. But yeah, there's a whole thing going on there. Apparently the spin-off novel kind of leans harder into it. I'm not sure though. I haven't read it. But it's there's a whole thing there, which is potentially they have more. Their relationship is not necessarily strictly platonic.
And like the some screenshots someone took with Chisato's fingernails.
Oh yeah, that thing. She keeps cutting her fingernails.
Anytime Takina shows up around Chisato for an elongated period of time, her fingernails get short.
I think she's like raring to go. There's stuff like that. There's actually, funnily enough, the Nendoroids I announced, they specifically said that Chisato comes with a hand holding part, so she and Takana can hold hands.
Yay! Lewd.
There's a bunch of little things that would indicate that nothing happens, but it goes because again it's not a romance.
It is.
So a lot of people try to claim it's bait, and it's really not, because they're not leading people on really.
Yeah. Bait
is when you lead people on, not just there's something could be there, but they don't really get into it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I would hope that would go in that direction in the future. There is definitely a chance for it, and it'd be great. Particularly against, I believe one of the people who made it said that they'd like to write this sort of story. They wanted to write a Yuri. There's hope, but
Yuri with guns.
Yeah, why not?
Do it.
Do what you want. That's one of the big things about those two is just simply there could be something there. Heck, some people kind of pointed out there might be a Fuki's. Might have a little bit of
that's why Fuki's upset.
Unsorted feelings there. I've noticed that a couple times, so that's the thing. There's a lot of potential places they could take it, and of course, there's other thing which people, the spider lily thing, because it's Lycoris spider lily, right?
Yep.
And spider lilies can mean death, which a lot of people were like, oh no, because particularly later on they really started leaning even harder into the spider lily imagery, like particularly let's just go to overlay spider lilies over just Chisato.
Yeah.
Like, oh no. Everyone's kind of getting a little nervous, and the other thing was like someone pointed out, the spider lilies can also mean rebirth.
Yep.
Which we kind of, in a sense, Takana and Chisato both had their rebirth.
Yeah.
Since Takana was more, kind of become more open, and like you even see her smiling and being kind of more of a normal teenager. Like it's just stuff like Chisato taking her out underwear shopping because she's just wearing boxers.
No.
No.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you see weird stuff like, Chisato getting embarrassed about, she just, Chisato takes a peek at, what's under Takuna's skirt. And yeah, and when Takuna insists on seeing the same, Chisato gets embarrassed and Takuna's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yep. Until later.
There's little things like that. Or of course, the little stuff like Takuna's little special dessert dish she made up herself, which no one had the heart to tell her, what it looked like.
It looked like a pile of poo.
Yeah,
but it tasted really good.
And it's just it was just cute that this, the cute girl who's just kind of selling them this dessert that looks, yeah.
But tastes great, apparently. So it sold really well.
Yeah, and then she found out anyway, and she was horrified and demanded we stop selling it immediately.
Yep.
Stuff like that, or their little, there's that one towards the end, they, Takuna very much takes Chisato on a date.
Yeah.
Including they tried to go to the aquarium, which, that's the other thing. They did go to the aquarium earlier, and then, aquariums in Japan are kind of known for, oddly enough, for being romantic.
Apparently that's a thing.
Yeah, so that's a common thing. So, that's all right. In its own right there. So there's a lot of little things. And, of course, there's also the episode we had, the one where they found out Mika and Shinji had a bit of were kind of together. It's kind of unclear what their actual relationship status was at that current point in time.
It was
But they were definitely,
complicated.
They were together at one point for sure. Now it's like, but anyway, there's that bit where they're like sneaking around and Takuna runs right into Chisato's behind.
Bump.
Yeah, oops. Stuff like that. So there's lots of little things that establish the idea the two of them might have something going on that even maybe they're not totally aware, or I've seen various interpretations of that, some which I find more appealing than others, but whatever. Anyway, it's great. I genuinely love it and highly recommend watching it if you haven't yet.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. It's very much, I am very much looking forward to more, because I'm at this point, there's got to be more. I can't imagine the idea that they're just going to sit on this. Yeah, that's it. That's all we're going to do.
That's all, folks.
That's all we're going to do. This incredibly popular anime is just making us tons of money. We're already starting to merchandise like crazy. No, we're just going to do one season.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there isn't a second season.
Or a movie or something.
Or something. I'd be surprised if there is no more.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to more, and I really want to see these two. There's other stuff I actually just remembering, like they don't really touch on it all, but it just kind of pops up like Lycoris, they're teenage girls. What happens when they get too old?
They become management.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things. Like I think there's an implication that a lot of Lycoris just simply do not survive because their job. But
Council of
they become management. It's because can you really trust them? Just kind of have a normal life, not speak up.
No. I would expect them probably to
management
get
or
staff positions within the DA.
Either you start working here at home base, or we shoot you.
I'm certain they probably they don't have the greatest. They probably don't have the greatest survival rate.
Yep.
They probably plan their missions given how not great the department is. I would assume that they probably plan their missions in ways that are likely to cull the numbers a bit, and the ones that do survive become management or training staff for the next generation.
Probably, but it's still like,
I mean, how many the staff to student ratio is going to be pretty decent, so you're going to need a fair amount of staff.
Yeah. Regardless. Oh, the one other thing I actually want to point out something actually you just remembered, which is you remember in the very final episode, Takuna and Chisato have reunited, and they're on the beach, right? This is where the part where Chisato threw the necklace in the ocean, and there's a bit where they're hugging, and someone noticed that the shot, the sunset that was going on, it's like, hey, look, that color gradient is very similar to the lesbian pride flag, almost identical, in fact. Huh? Isn't that weird?
Interesting. I'm certain this means nothing.
Probably means nothing.
Symbolism.
Also, maybe we'll find out. Probably. Let's hope it goes somewhere.
Hope so. I ship them.
I guess that's it.
Yes, that's it. We're rambling now.
It's a fun show. Yeah, I already have the Nendos on pre-order. I'm absolutely going to buy the pre-order the Figmas when those go up, whenever those do. I also want to own it on Blu-ray whenever I can. I don't want to spend, of course, $60 for 3 episodes. So I'll wait for the American release. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. You can, if you did, you can find other episodes at newtoweeaboo.libsyn.com. That's spelled Libsyn. You can subscribe there via the RSS feed, or you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or Amazon Music. I think it's Amazon Music. They shuffle stuff around, so I'm not quite sure. Which way you can find us on any of those by searching for New to Weeaboo and subscribing and all that stuff. If you like and keep up to date. And also you can contact us via email, newtoweeaboo@gmail.com. If you have questions or anime recommendations or whatever, what you think of Lycoris Recoil. Is it overrated? I don't know. Probably not. You're probably wrong. But anyway, there's all that stuff. And you can still follow us on Twitter right now. Surprisingly.
The World Cup did not destroy it.
Yeah, we're still at New to Weeaboo. So there's that. I'm trying to make sure to get all the ducks in the row just in case on that one. But yeah, we definitely do have some alternatives already in the works. Yeah, just just go to libsyn.com if everything goes to crap on Twitter. So there's that. And you can also follow personal Twitters. I'm at Nemesis Prime 1 and he's at Alcatraz on 717 and _ at the end. Yeah, we do have other things, but yeah. Not really super active yet, just in case we're just kind of...
I'm not even active on Twitter. I just read it. I just lurk.
You retweet.
I retweet stuff, but...
You retweet Twitter, so that's active. That is considered active.
Sure. But I don't make my own posts very often. I usually just lurk.
But people might want to see Teto.
I won't blame them.
Anyway, so that's it for this one. Join us next time. We will be talking about Hibike Euphonium.
Oh boy.
Yes, this is one I've been wanting. This is one I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, yeah, it'll be December by that point, and hope you keep warm and all that stuff. Unless you're down in the southern hemisphere, which I hope you keep cool. Yeah, so we'll see you then.
See ya.
Goodbye.